He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here. No matter how many times they burn us.
Overmere and Seligman investigated learned helplessness, in which a dog was placed in an inescapable box. The dog was given electric shocks, and for the first few times, the dog would repeatedly try to escape and avoid the shocks. However, over time, the dog became used to the shocks and gave up on trying to escape, succumbing to the electricity. Even when placed in an escapable box, the dogs would no longer attempt to avoid the shocks anymore. This was also done on humans, but with noises rather than shocks. This is learned helplessness hypothesis, the idea that once someone is under an uncontrollable event, they learn that their behavior and outcomes are independent of each other. This produces great emotional disruption. The study is criticized heavily for its ethical practices. However, many psychologists have expanded on this hypothesis to argue that this is why people do not leave abusive relationships from a behaviorist perspective. We begin our story in FNAF 4, the first time we see Michael Afton. It's theorized he is a teenager here and is clearly not a good sibling to his brother, the crying child. But where are their parents? Where is William? Their mother? Why isn't anyone disciplining Michael and comforting the crying child for this harmful relationship that is at play here? The first scenes of the game shows taunting and abusive tactics being utilized against these two children. The first ever cutscene we see in FNAF 4 is the Fredbear plush stating, "What did he do this time? He locked you in your room again. Don't be scared, I am here for you." The second day he says, "You know he is hiding again." It's quite clear that the Fredbear plush is representing William Afton, which is heavily implied by the sister location bunker. A lot of people argue this Fredbear plush represents the care and love William has for his children, willing to watch over his children through a toy. This is not love. This is not care. This is neglect, leaving your children behind to abuse one another with no parent to discipline or comfort them. William has always cared more about his job and his career more than his own children. William is absolutely aware of Michael's behavior and does nothing about it. Instead, he pits his two children against each other and does absolutely nothing to discipline Michael or comfort the crying child. As Dill Process in their video stated, abusers will often pit victims against each other so that they have no time to confront the abuser themselves, which is William Afton. William has allowed for an abusive, toxic relationship in the household. Instead of William watching over his children directly and normally like any parent should, he neglects them. He is so committed to his career that he sets all of this up in a bunker to multitask between work and looking after his children. No matter what people say in the fandom, this is not William showing care for his children. This is abuse. William is meant to be written as an individual who cares first and foremost about business, and his lack of care for safety protocols and precautions demonstrate this even beyond his personal family life. Henry, who is painted as a saint, is not excluded from this. Henry also did not watch over his daughter Charlie quite well enough. He did not take safety precautions as seriously as well. Both are guilty for not safeguarding their animatronics and environments.
These are clearly state-of-the-art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those.
Midnight Motorist is a heavily controversial minigame from FNAF 6, but I do believe this is meant to represent William Afton. Whilst everyone sees him as purple, in the shadows, as a sickly killer, I theorize he sees himself as gold, or yellow, matching his personal attachment to Spring Bonnie. This goldish yellow color is also associated with him at the end of FNAF 4 through the text, "I will put you back together." In this minigame we say that William is abusive and may suggest he's an alcoholic due to his visit to juniors, however this is assumptive. What we can 100% confirm is William suggests some form of punishment or aggression towards whichever kid is in the room, whether you believe it's Michael or the crying child. "I told you not to close your door. This is my house. He can't ignore me like that. He will be sorry when he gets back." This in of itself demonstrates point blank that William is a controlling parent and cares little for the privacy of his children, implying he will punish the child to ensure they don't leave. So, from a narrative standpoint, what does William's character mean for the relationships he holds? How does his abuse extend beyond his one-on-one connections? Aside from the obvious point that William's killings have caused deep trauma for everyone around him, what does his abusive relationship mean for his family members? Someone like Michael Afton, his oldest child. Michael is the embodiment of learned helplessness. The recent release of the Tales of the Pizzaplex story, Didophobia, may have introduced the possibility of FNAF 4 being an illusionary experience implemented by hallucinogenic nightmare gas. In the security logbook, Michael Afton, the suspected owner of this book writing in red pen, is asked, "What are your recent nightmares?" And he draws a nightmare Fredbear. This has opened the possibility of Michael being held under hallucinogenic experiments. This would mean William's abuse and torture against his children is only further solidified and moved to more creative and detrimental tactics. Michael Afton is suspected to be the security guard in most of, if not all of the games. But have you ever asked yourself, why? Why is he always the security guard? Why is it that Michael willingly goes down to the sister location bunker when he's asked? Why does it seem that Michael is a willing accomplice alongside William Afton, who is clearly an abusive and horrible man? It's highly likely that Michael feels obligated to do what his father says because he himself feels guilty, or he is going to these locations to make sense of what his father is really doing. Regardless of the reason, Michael being a security guard represents this almost obsessive connection with what happened with his brother and his relationship with his dad. Michael may see himself as just as horrible as William. Michael is the one who put his little brother in the mouth of Fredbear, and he's disgusted by his actions. At the end of FNAF 4, there are two coloured texts. The normal Fredbear plush gold colour, but there is a lighter colour. I believe this lighter colour to be Michael, telling his brother he is sorry. So, whilst Michael sees himself as a reluctant follower, an accomplice, a horrible person, Michael, in our eyes, as the player and the audience, should be seen as the victim. This is symbolized through Glitchtrap and Vanessa's relationship. William is always the one in power and control, manipulating others to do his bidding, to get what he wants. William was the one who started all of this, his abusive behavior, his sadistic tendencies, resulting in the death of so many innocent children. Michael always comes back to the job. He agrees to go to the sister location bunker because he thinks he is just as guilty as William. William weaponizes his own son's actions against him to ensure he does what he wants him to. This is the inescapable box of abuse. Michael, like the dog, has been shocked so many times, and even when an opening appears, he does not escape. He stays nearby his dad, does what he is told. But what we as the audience have to understand is, although Michael did bully and put his brother in the mouth of Fredbear, and this indeed is not justified, this is a result of the cycle of abuse. Consequences of emotional abuse may be repeated abnormal or disrupted attachment development, and the sufferer blames him or herself for the abuse, leading to learned helplessness, emotional distress, and excessively inactive behavior. Michael is often represented and associated with Foxy, represented by his mask in FNAF 4. What's interesting is that Rockstar Foxy in Ultimate Custom Night is one of the only animatronics to help William despite being in eternal hell. This is the idea of Michael's submission and dependency on William, which is further supported by the poster in the back of FNAF 6, showing a clown, a bear, and an old man with a puppet that looks almost identical to the man. This seems to represent the Afton family, the clown being Elizabeth, the bear being the crying child, and the puppet being Michael, controlled by William. Michael was always a puppet of William's games, a reluctant follower, tied to his father due to the years of abuse and neglect he suffered. So, years later, Michael tries to burn down the FNAF 3 building and is willing to die in FNAF 6.
To you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be.
After seeing the sister location bunker, he sees the abuse of William Afton extend beyond his family into other people's lives. The amalgamation mess of dead children's souls fighting for a way out. Children, their families, were destroyed and ruined because of William. Michael sees what has become of his own sister, trapped in an animatronic prison created by their own father.
Clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
Nightmarionne is a character I'm deeply fascinated by. To me, Nightmarionne represents agony, death, and the abuse William has inflicted onto others. Its constant inclusion in Security Breach may suggest that the abuse is never ending. The cycle of agony continues, with many theories suggesting the missing children in Security Breach are being experimented on in the Scooper Room still to this day. What this has concluded for me is William is most certainly not a loving parent that some people may suggest he is. He is a monster, and his abuse extended beyond his family into other innocent people's lives, resulting in a never-ending cycle of agony. We often forget how morbid and traumatizing the story of Five Nights at Freddy's is. We don't see the true horror of what happened in the games. People romanticize William and headcanon him in ways that not only diminish his character, but also misrepresent the entire horror FNAF brings. William started all of this, and now